Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments, any additions or deletions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, all. The motion carries. Next is a Housing Authority reappointment. The chair would like to entertain a motion in favor of reappointing Mr. Paul Lewis to the Housing Authority Board.
So moved.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Paul has been a faithful, loyal member for 10 or 12 years, if not longer, and he's willing to continue to serve. And it's a very important time as the Housing Authority is transitioning, seeking out a new executive director right now. So appreciate that. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of Mr. Lewis's reappointment say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed likewise, motion carries. Thank you all. Next item is a banner request for the Soul on Second Street Festival. Madam Clerk, you gonna take care of that one?
Yes, the Soul of Second Street is just requesting to hang a banner at City Hall for the 3 weeks leading up to the festival. So that would be starting July 15th through August 12th is when we would take it down at the conclusion of the festival.
Thank you, ma'am.
I move for approval of the banner request.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments? It's the August the what, 10th, 11th, and 12th? 9th through 12th?
9th and 10th.
9th and 10th? Okay, all right. All those in favor of approving the banner as requested, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed likewise, thank you all. Motion carries. Next item is the resolution 2024-07-0801. It's downtown development TIF incentive study.
Mayor, you were going to do 4A.
You were supposed to do 11 for 4A.
Oh, I'm sorry. Next item is item 4A. It's resolution 2024-07-0803, the DCA SRO contract. Chief Grady, you going to talk to us about that?
Mayor, Commissioners, you have paperwork presented to you, reference our SRO contract.
Let me jump in there, Chief, and say that I was not here the first time that was presented, and we indicated to you that we would do certain things, and so we started from the beginning. I just want to confirm that process for you that we went through. We did meet with DCA. We appreciate those representatives being here. I'm sure if y'all have any questions that he would be happy to address the commission. We did meet with them, confirm that it was their desire to work with the city and that the school property is in the city. We did meet with the sheriff and the Chief Gray and Sheriff Bottom and talked about the issue at length. We appreciate his leaders, the sheriff's leadership on that with us in terms of the conversation. He was very open, and it was a very healthy conversation about our mutual aid, and I think he understood kind of the basis why we had engaged with the district or the school, and I think we left the meeting in a better place and of the understanding that it was the school's desire for the city to do it, and he acknowledged that, and we left on good terms, and everybody I think was in a much better place than before the meeting, and I know that we've worked with him additionally on separate issues since the meeting, and so I think we're all in a good place with that. So then we are bringing the contract back up, and I wanted to, before we talked about it, I wanted to categorize it and make sure that you all understand the foundation with why we're bringing it forward. We freely acknowledge, and we want to healthily acknowledge that there's a debate in society currently about public schools and private schools, public dollars, and the financing of those private schools, and that is very much a state issue, and we want to acknowledge that. That is not part of our conversation as local municipal employees. The property is inside of the city limits, and so we provide police coverage for that property, just like we do, the fair was mentioned there earlier, just like we do the fair property. So we're out there 365 with the fair property, and when they want enhanced service, not to pick on the fair, but when they want enhanced service during the fair events, we amp that up, and for, when there's a downtown festival, the one that immediately came to mind was, for example, the barbecue festival, or for any festival, brass band festival. When there's enhanced services, a lot of times we will get paid for that enhanced service only. There is baseline coverage that we provide as part of our operations, normal. And so we attend events, sporting events at all the schools and that kind of thing. And then the state issued this edict about the SROs, and we put this on your paper, and we'll read from it, just on your desk. We'll read from it for just a minute. Kentucky Revised Statutes 158-441 defines an SRO as a sworn law enforcement officer who has specialized training to work with youth at a school site. So we take a sworn officer, and they have to take additional training to be able to qualify for an SRO position. Okay, that is a very, I guess, specialized aspect of law enforcement. And the law stipulates that the officer shall be employed through a contract between a local law enforcement agency and a school district. And then it goes on to describe the things. And I left it there for you to read. There is some stats in that there's school-based law enforcement agencies. I want to acknowledge, for example, the University of Kentucky has its own police agency right inside of Fayette County. Those are some of the numbers where this comes from. So when we reached out to other agencies, for example, Somerset Christian Academy, that service there is provided by the city of Somerset because it's in the city, right? Fayette County is a little different. Lexington Christian Academy and Lexington Catholic, they do have SRO positions that are sheriff's office, because the sheriff's office provides all the SROs to the schools in Fayette County. And so then, once you get to that point, we provide the standard agreement that we do the other schools, and that's where the cost is described here. We do have expenses. The school is asking for enhanced service. This is our methodology, the contract to be reimbursed for the enhanced service that's being provided. Now, additionally, the state this cycle has thrown around this, schools can be reimbursed for up to $20,000 if they apply for SRO positions. That is not considered in our existing agreements or in this agreement yet. Two reasons. One, it is the summer, school's about to start for them, so we do want to get something under contract for the DCA school or proposed contract. So we want to usher that along. Then none of our contracts account for the $20,000. So once we get clarification from the state on how that $20,000 is to be accessed and how's that to be distributed, then we will have to replace all of our contracts to account for that. So all of those, we would hope to come back up, as we get clarification on that law. I'm not going to predict when all of that will play out, but as we understand that, we will have to renegotiate. We'll have to sit down and work through all that math. So saying that, it's a standard contract that we've offered all the other schools. We believe inside of the city limits, makes total sense for us to provide police services for any entity, just like we do Walmart. When they do Black Friday, they ask for special services. We provide those, no questions asked. We do the same thing for the fair last week. We park cars on the bypass, we do that. That's what we do, public or private. It's in the city. And again, acknowledge that's a school discussion about public-private schools. That is a legitimate discussion. That is becoming very much a state issue, and we freely acknowledge that. That is not what we're talking about today. We were talking about the methodology for the city to provide enhanced police services that it does in the form of an SRO, and how we're to get reimbursed by that, for that service. So,
Thank you, sir.
Earl, could I ask you a real quick
Yes, sir.
question before? The baseline, you sort of explained it to me, the baseline being $30,000, and that's where you sort of started your math?
yeah, so when you look at it, it's difficult to explain, but so stick right on the fairgrounds out there. We are providing police service protection at the fairgrounds right now. They have equipment stored out there. If something happens out there, we respond. So there is a cost to provide that service to them, even when the fair is not going on. So our estimate is that when you're looking at the number of basketball games, the number of special events at any school, we have officers at those events most times. And so you're going to have cost tied to that entity existing. So that's about $30,000 per campus is kind of the basis of this idea. Now, I wasn't part of the original derivative on the math, and certainly we can revisit that when the $20,000 number, we can try to prove what that is and try to reestablish what that baseline is. But regardless, the baseline was always assumed about $30,000 in a commercial or private entity like that we have in cost. And what the school is asking for is we want somebody 24 during school hours, so that's an enhanced service. And so they pay for that extra service above that baseline expense that we have to operate that service from, which is the total cost, the way we've been able to structure it, because we can do it with part-time positions. We can do it with part-time. So our cost is not the full cost of an officer. And I'll get into that here in a second since you asked. But our cost is about $60,000 plus or minus. And so when you start backing off of that number, then you see why their share is kind of where it's at and why it moves where it's at. Now, some folks have said, why don't you hire, you cannot do that service, and you can just take all that money that you're spending, that $30,000 or whatever that number is, on full-time officers. Presently, we have, Chief, 6 SROs?
Yes.
Okay, so you have 6 officers throughout the community, and the city is spending about $30,000 an officer. So that's about somewhere between $180,000 and $200,000 in actual expenses. And during regular business hours, we have 6 police officers that are certified officers patrolling the city, aiding in law enforcement. Now, they're at specific locations and assignments. Now, the alternative, if we hired 2 full-time positions, the cost of a full-time position is about $120,000. So if you hire 2 police officers full-time for an 8-hour shift, 40 hours a week, you're going to spend about $240,000 for 2 officers. So the way we do it is we provide the coverage at about $200,000 cost. It's a benefit to the city, or it's a wash. But you have so much extra coverage. You have 6 officers in a car in town. So if there's an incident that really goes bad, then you have all those additional resources during the day. And I think that's the spirit when you look at 158-441, that's the spirit of the law, and that's the way the law was written and the way that it was. And so that's just that's not an opinion, that's an observation we can make looking at the city's allocation of expenses and officers.
Why don't I do this to get us in the right frame of mind, to make our procedure tonight be consistent? I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-07-08-03, the DCA SRO contract as presented. And in making that motion, the chair would also like to receive a second. Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, ma'am. Then we can discuss it, and when the discussion is complete, then we can take a vote. All right?
I had a question. So, but the officers at the school all day, right?
That
And
is
at the
correct.
school events? Okay, thank you.
And at the school events,
So-
after hours, doing traffic control in front of the school. They aid in that process in the mornings where we get a lot of complaints, and oftentimes, we have been asked to provide, so, for example, we have a crossing guard in our audience that has a long history of providing, aiding traffic entering the school in the morning for bait, right? So we do, that's one of the services we do. I'm not sure we get reimbursed from the school for the crossing guard. I think we just have a crossing guard because our concern is the kids crossing the road on Stanford Avenue being a through road, right? So we get no reimbursement for that expense.
Those services started way back before I was even at the police department. The crossing guards did, and I can remember the incident that started it, but because it goes back to when I was in school at Tolliver's when we first started doing the crossing guards.
At real school.
Back before we even had SROs, we had officers going to schools. I went to Boyle County. I would go out to Boyle County and do things at Boyle County High School way back before we even started SRO programs. You know, it's all about, in my opinion, it's just taking about, you know, the kids. And it's just a contract that we reimbursed ourselves. Just about every school and every city that has a SRO program does. Most of them are moving to this retired officer because they don't have to pay a full-time officer. And it's the best of both worlds. They're getting a certified officer for that 9 months or whatever it is, you know, roughly during the school. Actually, what we have currently, we have 4 officers that are on the retired program. We do, right now, we cover the Danville High School and Bate Middle School. We cover those officers. They are full-time officers. And we're just getting whatever the reimbursement is, but Officer Balliston and Officer Chastity Shirley are full-time officers. They are not on the retired benefit. So we're not even really drawing back from those 2 positions. You know, maybe, like I said, Earl, somewhere around $120,000 to $130,000 per officer. You know, we're just drawing that $30,000 or $35,000 from those 2 positions. Now, hopefully with this new law, we'll be able to recoup a little bit more from that. We'll have to see exactly how that House bill and stuff applies. But we felt like that we needed 2 full-time officers because of the activity at those 2 schools, that they needed to be full-time officers. Now, you can tell us that we need to go to this, a retired thing, but we just felt like with the activity at Danville High School and the activity at Bate that we see those officers doing, that they needed to be full-time.
There is law enforcement that occurs on campus. We've had investigations on campus. We've had all types of things on all of the campuses. Ultimately, putting you know, so if you have an activity that happens, if you have a car broken in the parking lot at the school, Danville's police have to investigate that, right? Having an officer there is one step closer to the investigation, right? So it's more efficient in terms of staff time for that to be a city police officer. So, again, I'm not looking at it in terms of the public-private school. I get that. What I'm talking about is law enforcement. I'm not talking about the debate of there are private entities. Like I said, we go to Walmart when they ask us to come to Walmart. I can think of one officer that was injured before work, since I've been city manager, that we had to, that was involved at Walmart because of a call, and it was a Christmas shopping error incident. You know, that's what we do, is we have to provide law enforcement in our district, in the city limits.
I was, just for the public's sake, I looked up the laws, and I guess Section 15 said Nothing in this section shall prevent a private or patriarchal school from entering into a memorandum of understanding with a local law enforcement agency. So obviously, if this board wants to do something, nothing can be done. Secondly, in section 14, it says, nothing in this section shall be interpreted or construed to require a local government or any of its agencies or offices to fund the school resource officer positions required of local boards of education under this. And that means a city is not required to offer SRO services to all schools in the city limits, nor can it. Like, we don't have officers at Woodlawn, we don't have officers at Boyle Middle, we don't have officers at Boyle High School. It's the county, just like at, I think, DCA right now. So I just wanted to share, I had to work through all that to see what the law was, and I just wanted to share that.
Anyone else?
No, go ahead, Don. Well, I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but could I ask you a question, Mr. Haldeman, about currently the...
Mr. Haldeman, come up to the microphone, please, so we can record you, sir.
Appreciate it. Currently, the sheriff's office is in charge of the SRO there at your school.
That's correct.
But you initiated the change. Was there a particular reason, or what was your thinking on that, I guess?
Yeah, well, just, I mean,
I
I'm
don't
not,
want you to throw anybody under the bus.
no,
Just
no,
look out.
absolutely not. Look, I've been living in this community for a long time, been here for a long time, and thank you all for your all's service to the city. My son even lit the tree for Christmas one time. I'm not sure Donna remembers that, maybe nobody else does. Been a long time. So Danville served me well, and, you know, I was at another school, actually in the city limits for a long time, and so I've been working with school, well, before school resource officers were a thing. And Tony Gray, and so I've known Tony for a long time, and so I hate that y'all having to debate this, because I really hate it, because you got such great staff, and I've been in the community for 20 plus years, and as an administrator, and then principal at Perryville and assistant superintendent for Boyle County Schools. So I've done a lot, been around a lot, and so there's very good debates on it, because but I agree with Mr. Coffey, because it's just about protecting kids. And so the argument that you would have in regard to protecting public, or, you know, that wouldn't be any different than what Boyle County Sheriff's Department has to do. I mean, they're a public entity, right? And so a lot of you are right. And some comments I've heard, I think some of them are a little misunderstood in regards to who's liable for what. I mean, they put a lot of mandates on schools, right, public schools, but they don't. This is for, you know, y'all are going to be new to this. They don't fund it. Yeah, isn't that great? And it's crazy. And so there's no, as Ms. Holland explained, there's no mandate on any public entity, including the government, it's my understanding, to provide police services or law enforcement, in this case SROs, to any school. I can't imagine if they didn't, we'd be in a lot of trouble. And it's a sign of the times. But so when I represent DCA, and to get back to answering your question, so I did not, or intervene with the new contract, or when it first started. I think it's just been a year in the spring since DCA actually had what I would call a professional SRO. And so the prior administration worked that out with the Boyle County, Sheriff's Department. So like I would do for the last 13 years, what I did at the other school is, we did the contract every year. And it was never a guarantee, right? There's never a guarantee. So, and we're lucky, we have a fairly good sized city. Most other cities don't. Washington County, for an example, where I'm from, they don't have a big enough maybe city police to be able to handle all that. But, and then there's, of course, a variety of counties. But being in Danville and having two school systems, and in Danville Independent and Boyle County Schools, so the city isn't able to be able to provide a lot of services. So, I mean, Tony and I talked a lot. I can say this now, when I was in Boyle County Schools. In fact, I would just say this, there's never been a Boyle County football game I've ever seen without 3 to 4 city of Danville police officers there, and that's been that case, well, since I've been going to them for 20 years. And I know for a fact I wasn't paying them, so, because I was the one, authorizing the check there. So I'm just doing what I've always done. I go out and see what services I can provide for where I'm at. And so DCA's in the city. The Boyle County Sheriff's Department's great. Sheriff Bottoms is great. I went to that entity to see what that contract looked like, just like I used to do when I was in my other school district. And it was going to look the same. I thought, well, let me look and see what else we can do. The budget at DCA is, and just, I've still got, and I tell them I brought some staff here, and they'll maybe able to answer some questions I don't, but the 80% of any school district, 70% if you're lucky, is staff. And that's because your product is your teachers, and that you have, or your resource is your teachers. Your product is, the student achievement, right? So our staff get paid literally half of what they can make, in right down the road. So it's definitely a ministry for them, and so the budget that I have is a lot different than what I've been used to. So if you want to come to DCA, you can come to DCA. There doesn't have to be a certain limit. We give out $150,000 in scholarships every year to kids that or families that may not be able to afford it. So, and so there's been some confusion. We have an open door almost policy really there. And with my new vision there, that's one of the things that I'm seeing that I want to do. We're in the city limits. The city offers, you all have enabled the city administration, including the police department, to be able to offer services that are very much in line with the vision that we have at DCA. And so we're less than a mile from your all's, city hall. We're right here. It may be a little longer, I guess, but so I went out and I did seek that. So, and it was a win-win. So I hate that you all had to put you all in a little bit of debate, because that's not what my intentions were at all. We have nearly 400 students now. Probably 2 years ago, when this first started, there were literally under 300. And so that school's growing just because there's opportunities and there's choices. And so, but I will say this, you had to go to school by law. JH and I know that, right? You had to go to school. You're still bound by Kentucky law. We have to make kids go to school. But we do give parents if they want to homeschool their kids, whatever. So that's one way to do it. And but our vision of DCA, you all, is to provide a service as well to our community. We already have relationships with the library. Our kids go there. We're able to interact with them. We go to the Veterans Hall here every Veterans Day. And so my vision, and I've been talking to our staff, our mission is a little bit specific. But we know people are tired of hearing a sermon. They want to see one, right? And so we're not talking about incorporating a lot of ideas that are contrary to really anyone, but it's really an alignment of what we believe as a community. And so my vision, and I think DCA's vision, has always been to help others. And Danville is our community. Danville Christian Academy, right? It's Danville inside of our name of our title of our school. It's not Boyle County. It's not Mercer County. It's not Garrett. It's Danville. And so I think that's very important to understand that. At the end of the day, though, I'm charged with protecting those students. That's number one. And so those number of students are increasing. And I would say, I've learned that after I turned 50, I get a little more cocky, and I apologize. But I think I've earned it. Yeah. I'm probably, maybe minus Mr. Gray, there's not going to be anybody in the room, and maybe JH, that has more experience on school safety than I do. So I want to make sure you all know the Danville City Christian Academy, or Danville Christian Academy, is a safe school. But y'all, we're in a geographical location on the edge of the city where there's a lot of cars coming by and there's a lot of traffic. And so being the principal at Perryville, and we're in that community, even Junction, Tolliver, there's communities. They're protected by themselves. We found ourselves on the edge of probably one day, maybe a developed area, I'm not sure. I'm sure like any other school or city that's going to happen, but we've got to protect those kids. We're going to figure it out one way or the other. From my point of view, this was the best solution because I'm going to try to find the best solution for our school. It met our budget needs, and it met our professional needs. My board passed this in April. There was no question about it. There was no discussion about it because they know the professionalism Danville provides, even though we're going to a different entity.
Are there other questions for Mr. Holderman? Anybody got another question?
So, I mean, I just thought it was more of a cost savings because the new agreement we have in our pack says it's the same exact person. And then
Yeah,
you don't
yes.
have to pay as much. So that's kind of where we've got a lot of slack, like
You know, I know Mr.
using
Covey
the
tried,
taxpayer money.
it's hard to understand that.
Instead of,
Yeah. Well, I'll say this to you, Ms. Holland. I didn't pay that much from the other school systems I would never pay that much. So it's absolutely, our budget, the cost savings we have is almost a teacher's salary. It's just, that's facts.
have you explored the other options now where the state passed rules where you could hire military that's retired and all these other options? Is that?
Yeah, well, the answer is yes. I mean, but have I explored it in detail? No. I mean, it's a second option, last second option to get help for your school. It's not, in my opinion, could cause a lot of issues. And I doubt I see any school system partaking in that. It'll be interesting to see, though. That's a good comment.
Okay, and you could continue with Derek with the sheriff's office for safety if you chose.
I'm not sure. We're going to have to do something. I've got to make sure we have a SRO at our school. And we're running out of time. Yeah.
Other questions or comments? Somebody looked at me and said, move the, oh, just kidding. Okay. Any other questions or comments?
I do for staff, I guess. So the total ask, I guess, was 80,000 of taxpayer dollars. And then I added up the 3 years. So DCA was going to pay 85 out of the 165, and the taxpayer would pay 80 over 3 years, based on the cover sheet.
That could be. I haven't looked at it in that term. What we did was, when we first signed the contract with Danville, that was what we were doing. And as we progressed, we changed those numbers. And like I said again, once we see this new House bill, it will probably change again, you know, that those numbers have changed over the 3 years.
And this isn't in the 2025 budget. How would this be paid for, that extra 30,000 this year?
I don't know if I understand that.
It's not in the, Mr. Coffey stated it was not in the 2025 budget last meeting.
The 20,000 or?
So
The budget would, essentially, we would increase our school resource officer revenue because that also was not included, right? So, and then your salaries in police and fire, or I'm sorry, police department would be increased, by the full 55,000 for the SRO salary. Revenue would be increased that first year by the 25,000, the 28,000 the next year, then the 32,000. And so that net difference would be either accommodated by increased revenues if we had them, a fund balance spend down if necessary, or reduced spending elsewhere within the general fund.
Right, just the added contract does not necessarily require an amendment. It's an expense that is embedded inside of the police department that then the chief will have to manage against. It is a net cost increase for him, and so then it's essentially like we did the salaries last year. You get to the end of the year and you do your amendment to cover those unknown, unpredicted expenses like we did this year. Same thing.
Yeah, like KSD, for example, they pay, like, I think they're just, the contract says 32,000, but I think they paid over 40,000 for each one of those officers, so we got more money back. I think this year they were gonna pay like 44,000, instead of the 32,000. They're just so happy to have us there, they said, we're gonna send you this. Okay, we'll take it.
Yeah, so we have the line item for that is an expense line, and so we manage against all the expense lines in the police department. And, that's what he's tasked with.
I'm thinking out loud here, which is dangerous because I never know what's going to shoot out. But the argument I hear most often is, of course, the city taxpayers paying for a private entity. But county taxpayers were paying for it previously, correct? I guess. I mean,
Correct.
of course. Of which I'm one.
Which includes everybody in the city.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So that doesn't necessarily, I mean, I understand you could beat this around for
Yeah.
3 more months, but that's just, I wanted to make sure I had that correct in my head and verbalize it, so somebody can tell me if I was crazy or not. Thank you.
If there was an incident, it's our officer there. Where there's an incident, any of the Danville schools or any of the Boyle County schools, we're gonna go. We will probably be the quickest responding agency to even the Mercer County. If they called and needed help for a school shooting, we're gonna be the biggest agency. We'll get there before state police or anybody else, probably for the 6 counties around us. Like he said, we can get there. We're just the biggest agency in this region that can get somewhere to a school shooting, period. And to have our people there already gives us a hand up on the incident.
Well, I made the motion. I got a second. We heard
I
from,
think Commissioner Peak had a comment.
Did you have one
Did you back
also?
off on that? Go
Well, no,
ahead.
I just want to say, I mean, I'm trying to look at this as a business decision. If a business comes to the city and asks for our services, whether it's water, sewer, police, fire, American Greetings, they have a contract for the fire services because they're out of the city. I don't know that that's updated, and does it cost, I mean, should they be paying more? There's always that question. The schools, I know that we've learned that in the budget last year and this year. Every school is not funded fully. I mean, every school that we provide services for, we're paying taxpayer dollars, or we're spending $20,000 to $30,000 per SRO per school. And then that doesn't include the crossing guards. Crossing guards have been free forever. And I think it's a great thing because in the end of the day, I really have to, I mean, this is for our kids. I mean, we have to think about the kids. That's just my opinion. But I think you have to look at it as a business. Are we going to provide a service or not?
I'll just make a quick one. Playing off of Commissioner Holland, you're talking about difference in salary and with the taxpayer. Nobody talks about the equipping the officer as well. There's quite an expense to that, so that's all I'm going to say.
We'll concede. It will be, regardless of what you do with this particular contract, the disposition of those expenses will be considered as we find more clarity with the $20,000 number that's been tossed around, that the legislature weighed in on. And DCA is eligible for that.
Right.
I understand that. Like, they will be able to get that $20,000. So it's not about the public education side, although that's clearly how it's portrayed, right? It's not. It's about police protection.
And I mean, I've personally reached out to Judge Bottom and talked to her, and she had talked to you all, and she, you know, she hates to lose the contract, but she was okay. I mean, you know, so I think that's a civil conversation you all had. I appreciate you all going and talking to Taylor, and I appreciate that.
And my only comment is, I think some of the comparisons of the fair or businesses, those are temporary, and this is a full-time officer all day. So that is a very different thing versus a business. I'm a big believer in Christian schools. My mother taught her career there. My oldest daughter went there. Huge believer in Christian schools. I think everybody should be safe. I believe in safety 100%. But I don't know how the same officer doing the same job, using more taxpayer money to meet a budget need, can make it safer. So I just, I don't think there's a safety issue, but that's just me. If there's already a full-time officer there, and it's gonna be the same one. So that was my concern.
And I have, yeah,
So
what most of us have heard.
are we
yeah.
finished? Mr. Holderman, thank you and your staff for
Yes.
attending
Thank
tonight.
you all.
Don't leave though, but, so would someone call for the question? I guess I'll call for
I'll
the
call for the
question.
question.
Call for the question? All right, yeah, okay. Madam Clerk, you're looking at me because you know where I'm headed, right? We need to do this as a roll call vote.
We need to start with Rick.
For the clarity,
Right.
right? Start with, well, you start with me, you want to. Yeah,
Start with the mayor.
let's just get it over with.
Mayor.
Right.
You don't-
We're not being
We're
traditional.
just
We're not
gonna,
introducing- we're not doing anything else about
Be
tradition.
quiet,
It's
Steve.
the mayor's meeting, Commissioner, so if he wants to cast the first vote,
Yeah.
I think he can direct the clerk to take his
Yeah.
vote first. So why don't
Well,
you start
take
with
my
the
vote
mayor's?
I'm
first.
just kidding.
All right, I just want to get it.
Mayor Atkins,
Yes, ma'am, in favor.
Commissioner Holland,
I'm a no.
Commissioner Saris,
No.
Commissioner Cottle,
Came in as a no, going to leave as a yes.
Commissioner Peak.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you all. Oh, those, yeah, thank you all. I want to say those opposed, right? Okay. Great, thank you for the dialogue, good discussion. Now, can we get?
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda is that number 5 I tried to get to, Resolution 2024-07-0801. Mr. Coffey, the Downtown Development TIF.
Thank you, Mayor Commissioners. You have in front of you Resolution 2024-07-0801. That authorizes the execution of the work order that has been proposed by Commonwealth Economics. They're a company that have presented to you before. They did the work on the IRB, on the bypass. Saying that, as we talk about the downtown master plan, as we talk about downtown investment, you talk about incentives, and you talk about how you want to encourage that development and be able to use your incentives to steer your development towards certain conditions, meaning we don't like surface parking lots. That's a low-paying entity a lot of times. So there's things like that we want to de-incentivize, and you do that by providing incentives to the alternative, which is the proposal that you have in front of you is to evaluate those possibility of incentives in our core district that was identified in the downtown master plan, which is about an area from 4th Street to 5th, Main down to Martin Luther King. There can be a big, different shape to it. It doesn't necessarily have to end up as that shape. It could be bigger, it could be smaller. But what we're talking about is how we want to evaluate that as a TIF district, tax increment financing district. We can follow up with the presentation later on as we get into defining what that boundary would look like, and we can have Commonwealth present more to you what you're trying to accomplish with it, and one of the pieces of the discussion will be how much can you accomplish with it, right? So the tax increment part is you take part of the residual increase in property taxes and pay for public infrastructure tied to the development, right? That offsets in some of your front-end development costs that otherwise borne by the development. So you, by doing it like that, you're incentivizing that investment downtown. So then that TIF, idea of the TIF districts at play, you want to have a third party do that. You're required to do that because there are state incentives tied to the TIF. And then in addition to that, downtown is an opportunity zone. So how does the opportunity zone overlay with that TIF district? How can we maximize that return for a developer as we try to seek developers to invest in downtown? So with that, we've given you a work order. The work order is valued at $20,000 to do the financial analysis to qualify for the state incentive component. Also to give you the information that you can revisit the discussion later on, probably in the next 60 days. It'll be back in front of you. You'll have more of a granular presentation by Commonwealth Economics to discuss, because they will need your direction on what boundary we ultimately set up, if at all, what is contained in that boundary in terms of financial commitment or not commitment. So I don't know. I've tried to figure out how I can describe that, and I don't know any other way than just what I just did. So we appreciate your all's patience with letting me work through that. Do you have any questions?
So the cost would be 20,000, right?
Yes,
And then
until-
they would come back to us with,
Within the cost of $20,000, you will be asked to participate.
okay,
At the end of that, if there's ever a development that can go forward, so he does have multiple layers to his contract. So he's got like Part A, Part B, Part C. Part A is the only thing authorized. That and one, I think, in Part B, he does have some presentations of findings and things. He will do some of that as part of that $20,000. But the bigger, the additional work and that is labeled as C and D, that's down the road. I asked for that just so I would have it on file in case we wanted it down the
We
road.
good, we-
But you're under no obligation to do C or D at all. You're doing Part A, which is $20,000, and then they will present at some local meetings.
So Chair would entertain a motion for Part A of the Downtown Development TIF incentive study,
That is resolution
2024.
2001.
Yes.
I move for approval of resolution 2024-07-0801.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Are, JJ, are y'all keeping each other in the loop, I hope, or?
That will happen more as we progress,
Okay.
particularly now that we have them under contract. There will be a need to pull them in as we go forward.
Okay.
And that will happen, yeah.
Okay.
That,
All right, good.
unfortunately for him, he may not like that because he will get work out of it. But eventually, yes, that will come into play.
I think also from the legal standpoint, it's important to note that, the city previously designated this area as an opportunity zone coming out of the 2017 federal legislation. And then now your implementation possibly of exploring the TIF district. These are things that have to be done by municipalities. And it's why this is a city project for redevelopment. And it will be done with the inclusion of many partners, but the city has to be the tip of the spear because we're the only ones in the position in which to enact these incentives in front of you, including other things, possibly industrial revenue bonding. This is what this study will explore, but it sets the foundation for redevelopment in concert with the downtown master plan. And at the appropriate time, the city will be enabled to enact partners in the exploration of that plan. But it also underscores the importance of the city on this particular project being the lead agency.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I just want to make sure, the lead dog's got everybody else in mind too. So.
Well, and assure we all speak in one voice. Okay? Is there a motion? You got a second?
Yep.
Any other discussion or comments? All those in favor of approving 070801, say aye.
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 Those opposed likewise. Thank you. Motion carries. That was the city manager's report?
Now, we'll keep it short, though. We know that tonight, it's already been a long meeting. We would like to just point out the following dates. I know that we've got July 22nd is the next regular commission meeting, but July 20th, there'll be a block party in Jackson Park, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. There will be a back-to-school block party in Millennium Park, hosted by Don't Sleep Incorporated, will be from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. on July 27th. August 1st through the 4th, we'd like to caution everybody, because that is the 127 yard sale. So you're going to have a lot of people in town driving through,
What
and
was that
that's
date?
always I'm sorry?
What was the date?
August 1st through the 4th. That's always a busy traffic period, and so we just like to warn those citizens that makes them nervous. August 2nd is the balloons over the bluegrass at the Danville Bull County Airport. We appreciate the airport taking the lead on trying to reestablish that. And I know we got a follow-up meeting this week, and we've already had at least one successful meeting with their staff, and looking forward to that possible event. August 9th is the grand opening of the Jenny Rogers Community Center, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m., and we will publish more details. We just want to make sure that's on your calendars with a placeholder. August 9th. Then August 9th and 10th is the Soul of Second Street Festival. The 14th is the first day of school for both Danville and Boyle County. The 19th through the 21st is the Dock Dogs Summer Splash at the showroom. So y'all remember that being out there. We'd like to give that a little publicity.
Which month?
It's in August. All these are out in front of us, but that's the upcoming summer events. And also one more is the August the 24th is the AMVETS Car Show at Millennium Park. We're looking forward to that, just personally, because we think that's a good thing for the community. So that's all I will add, other than the auditors are doing their work. That is going well. The facility tours, make sure you get on the calendar with Ashley to get your tour in of the next facilities that you didn't get to see the first time.
I was gonna say, I was gonna reach out tomorrow to confirm dates with you guys.
Okay.
We're going to try to do them as a group again?
Yes.
I thought that was pretty good. All right. Thank you, sir.
If I may,
Questions?
you want to talk a little bit about, I know you got the meeting coming up with the facility use agreement, school districts. Is anything happening with that? Get a little kickback from the picklers because Boyle County Tennis gets to play on our Millennium Courts.
Well, we were waiting until after dead period. We'll be meeting with them in the next week or so. We'll meet with the superintendents again.
Okay.
You'll do that with both school districts together?
Both at the same time, yes.
Is this the one we've been waiting on 19 months?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's been a lot of
So it's
turnover.
actually going to happen now?
We're pushing forward with that,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, we're pushing forward with that.
I thought you had these things written down. So what was the Jenny Rogers date?
It is. And Melanie will do a good job with communicating that out. Jenny Rogers is August 9th, 12 to 4.
12 to 4?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Report, you also said something about Kinder Morgan, the gas transmission line and update. Do you have any update on that?
I do, and I appreciate you asking. We do, so part of the problem was they were negotiating the encroachment permit. The gas company wanted certain things in there. The developer, being just a private entity, couldn't agree to some of those. It was kind of, it was akin to an agreement that you would put in a franchise agreement. I think we've moved past that now. I think the city has some of that covered. There's certain limits to liability on municipalities, since it is a city, will become a city street once it's repaired. There's only so much of that the city could bear anyway. So I think ultimately it was about the liability clauses in the encroachment permit. That's been resolved. So we're looking for a precise schedule for when they'll have that repaired. They will have to issue the paper permit, which should happen this week, and then they'll be out there doing the work.
Other questions or comments to the city manager? All right. Well, next on our agenda is Hear the Public. This is where we hear the public, and the public can present information or concerns to us that are about things that are not on the agenda. All right, thank you all. We've already had our commissioner comment. Oh, commissioner comments is next, right? Commissioner comments.
I just want to
Thanks.
say, no, go ahead.
No,
I just want to say thanks to Parks and Rec. If you went out there for 4th of July, like Commissioner Saris, we were talking, they went right through depending on, it didn't matter. The rain was there, the wind, and they just kept moving on. So all the staff, I guess, thank you for what you did.
Yeah, that was a good event. I was gonna recommend that everyone go see that Book Woman, written by our own
Yes.
Heather Henson at Pioneer Playhouse. It's a great play, based on her book. And the young actors are amazing. So if you get a chance, go see that. It's playing until the 20th, I think, Tuesday through Saturday, 8:30. Do yourself a favor.
dinner at 7:30.
Dinner at 7:30.
Other commissioner comments?
Well, you didn't mention it, and I just thought of it since you brought up Pioneer Playhouse, but I think the Irish are coming again here in about a week or so, so maybe we'll greet them at a meeting.
We gotta know the date of that one. I've invited you all to it. We'll find it. The Irish are coming this Friday, the 12th, 4 p.m. at the library. If anybody wants to come out and welcome the 9 Irish students who come spend 2 weeks in our community. Okay.
Can you say that date time again, Mayor, please?
Yes, this Friday, the 12th of July at 4 p.m. at the Danville Board County Public Library. And then Commissioners, I want to remind you all about Friday the 12th at 7 a.m. Fox News is going to be in Danville looking for you all, so be sure you all show up here at City Hall on this Friday at 7 o'clock a.m. No.
Yeah, Sally, you made it evident.
Well, I sent an email to you all about that some time ago, but I'm sorry. Fox News Live is going to be doing a show Friday, June the 12th about the city of Danville, and they invited the mayor, and the mayor invited the commission to sort of, and I invited some city staff people to show up, but I think it was 7 o'clock in the morning, nobody responded back to me, so. Donna said she didn't see it, okay. Well, they've been notified, haven't they, right? Okay. Other commissioner comments? All right, let's move along then. Next item is payment of bills. Chair would like to entertain a motion to pay the bills as presented. Madam Assistant.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills in the amount of $1,156,187.43.
Thank you, ma'am. Repeat that number. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Questions or comments?
Wait just a second. I just now saw on the front page, it says 1,156,000. On the bill list, it's 1,561,000. Which one is?
It's the 1,561,000. I updated the cover sheet and I didn't put it in there.
That's
I'm
fine.
sorry.
Well, okay. Just didn't want you to be short.
It got updated on Friday while Ashley was out of the office. I don't think your print version got updated.
Okay. But a new motion then, a new amount?
Yeah, you would need to
Yes.
correct that number.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills in the amount of $1,561,187.43 as presented.
See, I asked you to repeat the number, you changed it, didn't you? Is there a second to that?
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And before I forget, I wanted to compliment staff because we got all the documentation for tonight's meeting last Wednesday. Wow. Appreciate that. Credit goes to a whole lot of people, but last Wednesday we got it, so appreciate that. That's right. I didn't look at it till after 4th of July, but I didn't get it, so I'll be honest. Okay, let's go on to the next item is second reading of ordinance number 2034, the fiscal year 24 budget amendment number 2.
I'll move to approve the second reading of ordinance 2034.
Thank you, ma'am.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
This is the second reading of ordinance number 2034, an ordinance amending a portion of ordinance number 2012, which established the City of Danville, Kentucky annual budget for the fiscal year 7/1/2023 through 6/30/2024, as amended by ordinance number 2026 by appropriating funds for the operation of city government.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call vote, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Holland,
Yes.
Commissioner Saris,
Yes.
Commissioner Caudle,
Yes.
Commissioner Peak,
Yes.
Mayor Atkins.
Yes, ma'am. You really shook them up that time, didn't you? Let's go on. Next item is Resolution 2024-07-0802, Springfield Water and Sewer Letter of Support. Kofi.
I'll put on my Marshall Carrier hat.
Oh, go home. I see that. I want to see that.
Resolution in front of you authorizes the mayor to execute the letter of support. The utility in Springfield and is seeking an application for the House bill that provides state money for matching federal grants. So the water line from the water tower at Cox Street West through into Washington County is funded with an EDA grant, which is federal dollars, which does have a local match. They are going to make application for that local match through the state. And that was not originally conceived because the state just enabled that legislation this spring. So this is the funding cycle for them, and they're asking the city of Danville to participate in that. We're providing the water to the project.
So a letter of support, okay?
Correct.
I'll move to accept resolution number 2024-07-0802.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next item is an update report from the engineering department.
Yes, thank you all. I think we'll get the slideshow put up. You all have a paper version that I sit on the desk before the meeting. We'll make this pretty quick. We've thankfully been wrapping up a lot of stuff the past few months, so this will kind of be talking a little more about the future than I usually do with these reports. Public Works update. So they've been working a lot lately on sidewalk projects. They just completed, they did the last pour on North 2nd Street today. The new sidewalk out on East Lexington Avenue by the splash pad is completed. And we're pretty much complete at the Memorial Plaza. We have a few small details that we want to add and then do the memorial plaques themselves. We are tentatively targeting a September 11th kind of ceremony to open that up at this point, so that's a couple months away. And then upcoming sidewalk projects that we're looking at, we are going to do Main Street here west of the fire station, the last section of Main Street here between 1st and 5th that's not been completed with the new streetscape. We're going to then move to West Lexington and Swope Drive. There's an existing sidewalk on West Lexington near Swope that is damaged, that the city previously installed that we need to repair. And then we've had requests to install a sidewalk down Swope Drive, which is a heavily used pedestrian corridor to get from downtown and from Center College area to the apartments out on Holiday and Jackson Park as well. So we are going to start working with property owners out there and see if we can do that in-house with our staff. And then 2nd and Walnut, we need to improve those corners at that intersection with the stop signs and make sure that we get the permanent curbs put in, new ramps, new stop signs, and finish that up. That's something we have Gresham Smith, our streetscape designer, working with us on to make sure we do that correctly. Gun range improvements, we've begun that process. I've got some pictures on the next slides so we can look at those. Street sign and pothole repairs, that's the usual work that we're doing this time of year to make sure that we keep up with our standard of care that we try to do. And then school zone signage and markings. I talked a little bit about this previously, but the new signs for the area around Tolliver came in last week, so I would expect those to be installed sometime in the month of July. And also we're going to freshen up the markings on the pavement that identify school zones and those kind of things, just to kind of hopefully slow people down a little bit in those school zones. We'll move from Tolliver, we'll go to Hogsett, and try to make those areas safer. So here's some pictures. The left two pictures are of the gun range. You can see some clearing we've done on some of the embankments, and then also some new concrete that we've poured. So we're trying to get down there and do those improvements as we can, as we have availability. On the right is a picture of Warren Arnold. We've had a lot of issues with parking around that area, with the baseball field being completed a couple of years ago at Center. So we've done some yellow striping to improve the parking situation. We worked with the police department to ensure that we provided enough parking, but also enabled safety vehicles to be able to get up and down Roy Arnold. These are three pictures of the Lexington Avenue sidewalk that was completed. So that kind of in-house stuff that we're working on. The cemetery committee, this is the same slide that I put up a couple months ago in my last report, but we're still working towards this. We actually have a cemetery committee meeting tomorrow where we will look at the final draft of the rules and regulations after we've gone through it with them. If they're good with everything in that final version, I think that signals that we are ready to meet with you all and have a cemetery workshop. So if we're good after tomorrow, we'll start scheduling that sometime, probably late July, early August would be our goal for that. Parks Master Plan, this is a very small slide for a lot of stuff going on, but Jenny Rogers renovations are complete. Maybe a few little details we need to tighten up before August 9th, but as far as we're concerned, we are complete. They were in there cleaning the floors today. So that's a good signal that we're ready to show it off to the community. So we're really excited about the August 9th date. We'll put out more details, but we'll have lunch, ribbon cutting, and then have an open house that afternoon. 4 hours seems like a long time. A lot of that's just going to be, hey, come meet with us, walk around, look at it, that kind of open house kind of feel. The other two items are something we met about with the county a couple of weeks ago. I'll have the scope and fee for the renovation of the Buddy Davis pool and pool house at the next commission meeting for you all to review and potentially approve. And we will begin immediately on the pickleball feasibility study and hopefully have a report to you all. I say end of August to be conservative, but I'm trying to have that done earlier than that if we can. Wayfinding signage, nothing really new to update you all on, that we are moving on to phase 2. Started to work on some signage more in town. You might have seen some new signage we put up for some parks in the cemeteries. So we're already kind of starting to sprinkle some of that new signage in. But I'm developing a database of what we need to do next, and I'll bring a more detailed version of this to you all next time. That kind of shows our next step. Stormwater, similar kind of stuff we have, but we're still waiting on our new permit from the Division of Water to update our stormwater manual. Subbasin F assessment, we are meeting for July 24th with our consultant to review that report. Like I said, we'll have projects that come out of that report. The primary one being the replacement of the culverts at Twin Brook Drive, which have been a problem for years for us with them overtopping during heavy rain events. One thing MJ has started, MJ Arnold, our new stormwater program coordinator, started a couple months ago. One of the items that she's working really diligently on right now is cleaning up the retention basins around town. They had gotten very overgrown the last few years. We had not really been inspecting those and enforcing the cleanup of those. So we're starting an initiative to get those cleaned up because we need to make sure they're functioning correctly. So just as our local property owners and local businesses will be hearing from us as we reach out to say, hey, and we're going to try to help with that process because we've let them get too grown up. It's almost more than a property owner can take care of themselves. So we're going to try to assist with that cleanup process, but then hand it back over to them and say, hey, keep this grass mowed, keep these weeds out, keep the trees out moving forward. So that's something that you may hear about in the near future. Street and sidewalk projects, the Boffman Avenue sidewalks, that's moving ahead really well. We had a public meeting on May 7th that had a really good turnout and a really positive atmosphere to it. There was really no negativity. And amongst the public, we probably had 30 to 35 public there. So it's going really well. We've sent the final plans off to the grant office and to KYTC because it's a KYTC TAP grant to get reviewed. We've gotten some comments back from them. I'm still looking at spring of 2025 for this construction, but it may actually happen sooner if I can get these approvals done quickly. So we're in a good spot. It's kind of out of our court at this point. It's in the grant office's court. 2024 paving list, I'm going to try to have street evaluations done in July. That way in August, I can bring a paving list to you all for approval. As you hear from the community about streets, let us know. That way we can make sure I really take a close look at them and see if they need to be included. But our goal is to have a list done in August, and hopefully the paving's done September, October. Trail system, I actually heard from the grant office today about approving that, the bid for us to move forward with the Stanford Avenue pedestrian refuge island. So hopefully we'll see construction out there in the next month or so. And then the northern portion of the Woven Wire Mountain Bike Trail was disturbed by the sewer project that went through that area. We've been working in-house to get that area restored. Still has a little bit more work to do, but we're close to getting that area back open up again. And then something we're kind of working on now down in engineering that we've kind of moved out of some big projects. I have an intern from Center College that's working with me on a housing plan. I'm going to meet with Earl and our housing committee folks from the Development Corp here soon to show them what we've done so far and start preparing a final report. But we're looking at needs, we're looking at opportunities, we're looking at incentives to try to get a little more housing developed here in the city and in the county-wide too, because the report that we've gotten from the Kentucky Housing Corp has a lot of good numbers for what we need here in Boyle County, not just in the city, and just determining how we as a city can help move that a little bit forward. And then the downtown master plan, we're looking further at Walnut Street. We've been having conversations about Church Street. And then the parking garage, I wanted to had a little data that I got last week. This shows, it's probably easier to see on your printout. This shows our parking garage usage from June of 2021 through June of 2024. I've tried to make this as clear as I can. So the kind of the dark orangish line on the screen is that is the paid people that have paid to use the parking garage. That axis is this is daily on a working day is how I've done these numbers. So on the right axis are those numbers. And you can see the big drop in June of 2022 is when we made it free for 2 hours during construction. So that was a drop off in the amount of people that were paying per day to use our parking garage. That went up a little bit as construction went along, as it got busier and people were needing to use the parking garage more. But it's actually trickling back down a little bit. And that's the blue line is the overall number of people that pulled tickets at the parking garage each day. That you can look at the left axis to see those numbers. As you can see, that jumped up quite a bit during construction, especially when Main Street was really disturbed and the parking was removed for a while. But that is starting to trickle back down as well. So I'm going to try to keep an eye on this data and see how the things we do on Main Street, how it impacts our parking garage usage, and just what tweaks we can make to make it fully efficient. Because right now, as you can see, we're averaging about, we're up in the 180 to 190 range of people that pull tickets a day. Now that's not counting leaseholders. That's a very similar number leaseholders are. That number is on there as well as kind of the grayish line looking at the screen. And it relates to the left axis as well. So we're about 320 to 330 people a day are using the parking garage. That's not bad for a garage that has 380 spaces in it, but there's turnover in that. We could optimize that even more if we got more people using the parking garage. So,
Hey, Josh, just to say that we're also going to have a parking software company come in a couple of weeks and look at the lots and the street parking and the parking garage as a total and see about a different package to help us manage it.
all right. And then I think this is the last slide. This is a very similar slide last time. Partner projects. Still checking in with planning and zoning about the comprehensive plan and making sure that they're keeping that on track. Hopefully we'll have some information about that soon. The KPDI grant with the EDA, the EDA has acquired the property that was completed a couple of weeks ago. So now we're moving into the road design part of it and hopefully get some more money spent on that grant by the end of this calendar year. That's our deadline. And we're continuing to work on getting the carts out of downtown and transitioning to dumpsters. We've had some issues that we're working through and adapting as we go, but that's taken a little more time than we expected. But I think we got the major issues on Main Street addressed, and we're going to continue to work on that. So that's all I had. Any questions?
No, I just want to say thanks for the update, but I do, on the aquatics expansion.
Yes.
I don't know, but would you want to, and make sure we invite the county to that July 22nd meeting anyway? If we have numbers, I don't know if anybody else would want to make sure they hear it.
I think we could. I think we need to talk about another joint meeting anyway. We need to maybe go ahead and put something on the calendar fairly soon just to keep things moving forward, especially once I have a better idea when that pickleball feasibility study is going to be done. That's probably a good time to have that joint meeting again. And then maybe, so we can either look at the numbers at the 22nd or we can wait till that joint meeting or invite them to the 22nd. We can kind of talk about that internally and get back with you all about what we think would be best.
If I can interject for one moment on that particular matter, I've advocated for this in the past, and I'm just saying it now again for future efficient operations of both governments. I think it's critical that this body formulate public policy amongst the 5 elected officials that are in this room to serve the interests of the city of Danville, and then meet to collaborate with any other interested parties, whether that be another public agency or another private entity. Therefore, based on that, it is my strong preference from a pure efficiency of governmental operations that you receive information from staff the first time yourselves, formulate opinions amongst you, and if there's a need to collaborate and share that information in writing with our partners, and if there's a need for further dialogue on that particular topic, then you schedule a joint meeting. Joint meetings used to be much rarer in occurrence and only centered around particular issues in which particular decisions needed to be made. I do not think it is a necessarily efficient form of governmental operations to meet jointly to share information for the first time if you have not seen the information to formulate an opinion as a body yourself. So I'm saying that whether it's on deaf ears or not, I think for the good of the group and the community, it's important that we know that regularly scheduled joint sessions of the city and county have not been the standard form of procedure. That doesn't mean they're not beneficial. I think it just is important for us to note that best policy is created after you yourselves have had a chance to digest the information and reflect upon, well, what does the city feel about that matter? So then when we get together with our partners, public or private, there is a position to assert. And I say that because I think that will aid in the efficiency of the meetings so they are on topic, they are limited, and that peripheral comments are kept to a minimum.
What's he referring to?
I was just saying, adding that
I
just because
understand,
we
and I
asked about
used your
funding with
comment
Bunny
as an
Davis.
opportunity to take that position, so.
I just, they want to participate and,
She was
so.
just kidding. She
I was
didn't
only
really-
kidding,
Yeah.
Kevin.
Yeah.
Like,
There's nothing wrong with written communication between the bodies. That, in my mind, is a preferred method of communication. So they can have their conversations, you can have your conversations, and then we'll get together when it's decision time.
Well stated, and received by all 5 of us. I couldn't understand what you was referring to myself, but that's okay. Let's move the agenda forward.
Thank you
Next
all.
item. Questions or comments for Josh? Josh said he was finished.
I'd like to just publicly thank Public Works for the work they've done down at the gun range. It's, that looks really good down there. And we're going to make some more improvements as we go throughout the year.
And the sidewalks look really good that they're putting out.
And I still have some volunteers for moving targets for you guys, Chief. Don't forget about that now. None of them are present tonight, but I got some volunteers. Okay, let's go. Oh, Chief, you're up, Chief. Okay.
So-
Number 12, Resolution 24070804, Board County Crisis Response Memorandum of Understanding.
Yes, so I do have some backup here. Melinda's here to help me get through these next 4 or 5 agenda items. The first one you got there is it's a memorandum of understanding. As you can see in your packet, the Boyle County EMS has received a grant for a CRU unit. Pretty much it's using counselors where in the past we've used law enforcement, and it's a general trend that's sweeping the country right now. And so with this grant with the EMS has applied for, then we will partnership with the county and try to implement this program.
Thank you, sir.
Just ask for approval.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's good.
Can we get a motion, then we'll discuss it?
I move for approval of Resolution 2024-070804.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Thank you, guys, girls. Questions or comments to Chief?
Will this add more to the 911 operators? Will it make, have,
Those calls are coming in already.
right?
And it's just going to, it'd be just diverting the calls instead of to law enforcement, it'd be to the crisis unit.
Oh, okay.
Other questions?
It will help us see a reduction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eventually, it'd be less law enforcement time on those calls nowadays.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, let's create this motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you all. Chief, 05.
That's the a maintenance contract. It's a yearly contract that we have for maintenance.
All right, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-070805.
Thank you, ma'am. Second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Questions or comments?
And that's, just for the record, it's maintenance of,
Melinda? The phone system, yeah.
okay, all right. I didn't want to think it was your knees or something.
Okay, all those in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you all. Next item, Chief, 06.
Solacom is our support agreement. I believe, is this one with the GeoConnects? Is this one?
Solacom is actually the phone systems, and AK are the vendors that keep the phone systems operating. It's a two-part.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-070806.
Thank you, ma'am.
Second.
Thank you, sir. Other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Thank you, motion carries.
Okay, I do know these last two, definitely. This is 07, this is our GeoConnects, this is our CAD system contract for the mapping, not mapping, but the CAD system that we use.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve Resolution 2024-070807.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you all. Motion carries. Last one, Chief Gray.
Resolution 2024-070808. This is with Bluegrass Area Development District contract. That contract is for our mapping system that we use for the CAD system, or in conjunction with the CAD system.
She said it's right.
Is that annual? Is that-
Yes,
You have to do that.
all these are annuals.
Is there a motion?
I move for approval of Resolution 2024-070808.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Questions or comments?
I do have a question on this one. I think it's just ignorance on my part, but Seems like the county is paying them for some mapping too, but is that for a whole different thing?
They do support with the PVA, they do support through various agencies here in the community. Planning and zoning, for example, also has a contract with them. We've evaluated multiple times on whether or not it warrants a GIS position internally. Still don't. The total cost doesn't compensate for a position yet, and we don't believe the benefit of a full-time position really exceeds the cost yet. So we would definitely still agree that this is the best approach.
So it's not a duplicate of,
It's not a duplicate, no.
Okay.
No.
Thank you, sir. Other questions or comments?
I have a comment. Bluegrass Ag also provides all our mapping numbers that we are mandated by state to provide to them, so they can also take extra work off of our numbers.
I was trying to direct you to the mic. I got to be consistent when I do that to people.
We are also mandated by
Tell us who you are,
state
first of all.
to report certain numbers to the state to make sure everybody's on board. And almost every surrounding agency also uses Bluegrass Ag, just to let you know. So they also take some work off of our shoulders.
Would you state your name, please?
Melinda Butler,
All right.
Assistant Director.
You're in front of the camera now, Melinda. So.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Other questions or comments? Do we have a motion on that one?
You?
We have a second? All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Because somebody will look at that and say, well, you didn't make her go up front, so. Okay,
We don't need an executive session.
What's that?
We don't need an executive session.
We'll make a motion to adjourn then.
We do, we have an issue that we need to an executive session for litigation, property acquisition, and personnel.
Oh, dear go.
All three of them?
So we give you 5 minutes on each topic? Yeah, okay. All right, can I get a motion to go into, regretfully to go into executive session? Ashley said no. Aaliyah said, Lee
A
said.
bunch here. I make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel matter pursuant to KRS 61810-1F. And I also add to that motion to go into executive session to discuss City versus Doe litigation pursuant to KRS 61810-1C. And finally, add to it, go into executive session where potential real property acquisition for which publicity at present stage might or would be likely to affect the value per KRS 61810-1B, and that's it.
And Commissioner, just to correct the name, the case without citing the particular case, it's just pending litigation for which disclosure would may compromise litigation posture. Thank you.
All right.
As clarified by our attorney.
Is there a second?
Second.
All of those opposed, say aye.
Oops, I wasn't listening. I was reading.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, those opposed, we go to the executive session. for us to
Do
consider?
a couple personnel items first. Staff is recommending the reclassification of Mariah King Price from the position of accounts payable to finance clerk.
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you all. Staff?
Thank you, Mayor, Commission. Staff is writing to recommend the reclassification of Destiny Price from the part-time telecommunication officer position to a full-time telecommunications officer position.
So
Wow.
moved.
Thank you, ma'am.
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. Congratulations. All right, city attorney has some.
Thank you. Staff would request that you officially approve a confidential settlement agreement and mutual lease concerning litigation styled Apex Rental LLC versus City of Danville, which is Boyle Circuit Court Case Number 21 CI 75. It is a set of litigation that has a parent case of 20 CI 173, and the terms would endorse payment by the city's insurance carrier in the amount of $28,500.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments or discussions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. The chair would like to entertain a motion for the second executive session tonight, right? A motion to adjourn.
I'll accept and a motion to adjourn.
Thank you all. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Contrary to popular belief, I really enjoyed working with you guys.